Welcome to the Victorian Parent Council VPC Parent Podcast Series. VPC is a registered charity organisation dedicated to everyone who support parents in educating their children. I'm Jackie Vandervelde, your host today. Our guest today is Mary Kerba. Mary is a highly motivated, experienced and gifted educator. She has a wealth of knowledge and 34 years of combined special needs teaching and school leadership experience. Mary has a passion for teaching, and especially in the area of special needs and learning difficulties. She's the founder of the Hills Learning Centre, and she's a current professional member of SPELD New South Wales, Learning Difficulties Australia. She's a committee member of the Learning Difficulties Coalition and an associate member of the Independent Primary School Heads of Australia. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me.
Mary, your area of expertise and your and obviously your loads of professional experience that you've had teaching children. What do parents need to know about NAPLAN?
Well, look, first of all, I think parents have to understand that NAPLAN is a national assessment program in literacy and numeracy. It is run right across the nation, across 4 domains: reading and comprehension, writing, language conventions, which includes spelling, grammar and punctuation, and of course numeracy. Look, all the tests are based on skills that students are currently learning in their regular school curriculum. For more information, parents could visit the ACARA website, which is nap.edu.au. It actually is a very good website, has a lot of information for parents, and I really recommend that parents take some time to read through to make themselves a little bit more familiar with some of the protocols of NAPLAN and what it includes. On the website as well, there's a great brochure for parents. There is also some sample test papers that parents can use if they want to help with preparation for the tests coming up. And it also includes a really good document about the national protocols for administration, which includes the adjustments for students with disabilities. And it really is a must read for all parents who have children with some kind of special needs. Parents also have to understand that the NAPLAN is really just a snapshot of a child's learning at one particular time. It's not a pass or fail kind of test or assessment. It really is a measure of what the kids know after they have been learning their general curriculum. And it gives feedback to the school and the staff about how effective their teaching is, so they can then make adjustments according to the results that have come through.
So it really is a diagnostic tool, and that's what I think we lose focus on that when it comes to some of the stuff that goes on in the media and the reporting that happens and the way it's being used outside of the classroom. I think we've perhaps lost sight that it is actually that diagnostic tool for parents and for teachers.
Absolutely, and I think parents do need to keep that in focus as well. It is really not a criticism of schools or students at all. It really is a diagnostic assessment to allow teachers and schools to make those adjustments that they need to improve on techniques and on the way they're actually teaching, and to show them exactly where the children are and what they can actually do to improve the learning.
That's great, Mary. So if I do have a child with learning support needs, how does NAPLAN work for that child, and what sort of adjustments are available, and really what can I as a parent expect, what's reasonable to expect the school to do in terms of adjustments for my child?
Of course. Look, every child who sits the NAPLAN will receive a similar paper. It is based on regular accommodations that a student may be currently receiving if they have a disability or a learning need. And NAPLAN adjustments are made accordingly with the kind of disability and the learning difficulty that a child has. Now, who is eligible for those adjustments? Definitely children who have a form of disability, diagnosed, or look, even undiagnosed. It could be that they have a difficulty with handwriting, and if they're receiving current support in class, they will be able to be eligible to receive an adjustment during the NAPLAN itself. If a child has even received a recent injury, like a broken arm, which prevents them from writing during the exams, well, that child also is eligible to receive some assistance. Now, it has to be remembered too that students with autism and ADHD, intellectual and physical impairments, of course, will also be eligible to receive some form of adjustment. The adjustments are there to allow these students with difficulties and disabilities to access the papers like any other student would be able to. So really, if a child is disadvantaged because of their special needs, well, then the adjustments need to be made so their access to the papers and to the questions are on an equal basis to the rest of their peers. There are a number of adjustments available. There's assistive technology, there's a reader, a scribe, extra time and rest breaks. Guidelines for each of these adjustments are very clearly indicated in the National Protocols document on the NAPLAN website. So again, that's at nap.edu.au. And I really recommend parents have a really good read of that because it gives them some information that they would then need to actually use in conversation with their school when they are discussing the adjustments. Now, it's quite reasonable for parents to request some adjustments for their child during the NAPLAN exams. I firstly recommend that the parents make a time to meet with the school principal or their learning support and to discuss what current accommodations are in place for their child and how these adjustments can be used during the NAPLAN tests themselves.
So Mary, this is obviously, you wouldn't be doing this a week before the tests that are on. You'd be having this conversation with your school, you know, early in the year now would be good if you haven't already.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, sorry, go on.
Sorry, absolutely. I think if the conversation hasn't been had already, I suggest that parents make an appointment as soon as possible to discuss these needs. If a child has already been receiving these accommodations, let me tell you, I think schools are pretty much on the ball and would have a lot of these accommodations in place already. They already would have earmarked that child as needing that extra support. So I think it's more to reassure the parents that these accommodations have been made, will be made, and that the child will be adequately supported during these important assessments.
Thanks, Mary. And look, in terms of what can parents do generally to prepare their Year 3 child, Year 5 child, there might be some, you know, different strategies for a first timer compared to with a child who's been through this before, and you know, in Year 5 it's the second time round. So what things can parents do to assist their children to prepare for these exams or these tests?
Look, I think first of all, parents need to reassure their child that the tests are only just one part of their school program. Look, remind them on the day that it's to simply try their best. It really isn't a pass or fail kind of assessment. Students and teachers, or teachers will actually make sure that students are familiar with the types of questions in the tests. And during the course of the year, they should be already providing adequate support and guidance in preparation for these exams. If parents feel that they would like to do a little bit more at home privately, they can go on the website and download some sample past papers and just familiarise the child with the format, the language in the questions, and discuss a little bit about the time constraints that each paper may have. It's probably a good idea if the parents want to use a sample paper as a bit of preparation to give the child a time limit to complete a paper, just as a simulation of what the actual assessment might be. This is to help the child work independently through the paper without asking questions or asking for help, because in the assessment itself, they won't be allowed to do that. So it's important that the child has adequate practice in sitting through a paper from beginning to end without getting up and asking questions and asking for some assistance. It's important that, again, the child realises that it's not a pass or fail test. It is just an activity that they need to do as part of their regular day-to-day schooling.
Mary, that's wonderful advice. Thank you so much for your time today. I think that the information about adjustments and what's available and a process for exploring that with the school, I think, some parents may not have received that information or didn't know that that was possible. So I think that, those points are really valuable, and we really appreciate your time in explaining that to us today. So Mary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to our guest speaker. We hope you enjoyed today's topic. Want to know more about this podcast and other VPC podcasts? Please visit the VPC website vicparentscouncil.vic.edu.au and leave a review. We would also welcome you to contact us if you would like to be our guest, or if you have a topic around parenting and education. Thank you to Melbourne singer Emma Sidney for her permission to use her soundtrack, Cherish. Until next time, thank you for listening.